and church foreclosures, which is driving poverty. Their wages are being dumbed down, therefore they cannot pay for their health insurance, cannot educate their children. So there's a kind of fight back. It's called an Occupy movement. The people, it manifesting itself, and the theme is occupying for economic justice. In Montgomery, Dr. King occupied the streets for the decency of sitting where you choose to sit on the bus. Then there was an occupied movement for access to public education. We occupied for freedom. Now we fight, we occupy for economic justice. Why should the workers pay the price for the economic exploitation? Where did the money go? A war in Iraq, $1 to $3 trillion. We're fighting the wrong target. The money going to Iraq could wipe out every state budget deficit today, could salvage all of our citizens and their services. Where did the money go? We bailed out the banks who chose investing over lending, and those banks drove us in a hole. We said they were too big to fail. We bailed out the banks without link to lending, not the reinvestment. Where did the money go? The top 5 oil companies made more than $1 trillion since 9/11. They're still getting tax subsidy. Where did the money go? The Bush tax cut extension was more money than all the state budget deficits combined. And so seniors and students and basic Americans shouldn't have to pay the price for that kind of violation of our sense of shared economic security. And so we intend this weekend, we see an attack here on easy access to voting. You know, in 1965, African Americans couldn't vote in the South. White women couldn't serve on juries. The farmers couldn't pay poll taxes, couldn't vote. 18-year-olds could not vote. So we fought for this easy access to voting. Now, by stopping the voting here on Friday until Tuesday, that's an attempt to control the process and making voting less accessible. But we're going to do something different, creative. We met with ministers today and leaders of labor. Come this Friday, when the polls close, we're going to begin to occupy the area at the voter registrar's office, and stay right there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and Monday, and have a massive turnout on Tuesday. We cannot stand idly by and see the right to vote taken away without massive resistance. And so we must occupy that space. Church buses and church vans and labor vans must come downtown to the registrar's office Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, and occupy until Tuesday morning and have a massive voter turnout. And send a message: protect workers' right to collectively bargain, protect our right to vote, protect the American dream for all of the American people.
Reverend Jackson, you talked a lot about spending and what we're spending it on, what we should spend it on. The state of Ohio had an $8 billion deficit. How do you cut it, or should the U.S. government just cover every state's deficit with a bailout?
Well, there's a combination. Why are the states in the budget deficits? They're not in the deficit because of Medicare and Medicaid. They're not in deficit because students pursue an education. Too few who make too much pay too little in the fair share of taxes. The military budget is way beyond our real needs. We're fighting a war in Iraq and Libya,
but how does
Afghanistan.
That affect the state of Ohio?
Well, it affects you because it rains down, because about 40% of this state's budget is federal government. And it's going to be even worse come November 23rd. There will be a kind of doomsday. And so as you bail out, you shouldn't bail out on the back of our students. The state cannot be an obstruction to public education and to workers. We must fairly distribute that pain, but fight together for a renewed plan to reinvest in America and put America back to work. We were in Appalachia the last 2 weekends. 33 states in this 33 counties in this state are in Appalachia, where LBJ kicked out the war on poverty in 1965. Here are people, coal miners. Coal miner still dies every 6 hours from black lung disease. Should they pay the burden of this? The first prisoner of war in the Iraq War was Jessica from Appalachia. Should the veterans pay the price for this? Those who made the most should pay the most to help bail us out this hole. It must be a shared burden. In the meantime, that has nothing to do with should workers have the right to collectively bargain. Police, teachers, firemen, communication workers should have the right to share burden and share responsibility. After all, this land is our land. We should not live under the dictates of profits first and people last. Collective bargaining is the American way. easy access to voting is the American way. We will share the burden and share the responsibility. We must be a part of that process. Now, and I look at you guys, the media, where they will send one person to cover a whole story as opposed and laying off workers. You have a stake in this. The police who are watching those who are occupying, they have a stake. We're all in the 99. And those in the 91 say for America to be great, it must be a fairer nation with a shared sense of economic security.
And can I ask you about the Occupy Toledo? Right now there are about 3 or 4 people down there. There haven't been more than that for 2 or 3 weeks. Has it made its point?
Well, two things.
What really is its point?
When it's real dark, a little light will do you. But that light will grow. First of all, this past week, 2 victories occurred. One, the banks that put on an additional fee. Bank of America, they began to back off. They feel the pitter-patter of people's feet saying no to exploitative bank schemes. President Barack Obama gave a speech in Denver using executive order to bring relief to students who are facing student loan deficits and home foreclosures and veterans who are searching for jobs. We see him responding because as people began to massively protest, we met with ministers today who are facing home foreclosures and church foreclosures. They're going to join that movement in downtown Toledo. Matter of fact, this coming weekend, they intend to begin to bring their church buses and vans downtown at the voter registrar's office and stay there until polls open on this coming Tuesday.